Alright, guys, it's time for the shock of the century. Are you ready for this? I'm going to talk about something positive. But that's not all. What is the positive thing I'm talking about, you ask? Something modern that isn't shit. I know. Let's just take a journey through this. Saw this video randomly, and I actually think a lot of people won't like this. And it does have drawbacks, which we'll get into. But I'll tell you why I think it's a great thing. I think it's actually incredible, even despite the drawbacks that it has. Now, why do I think people will hate it even just on the surface? Well, people, you know how one of the many issues today is that we're living in a society where, the quote is literally, you will own nothing and be happy, or you'll own less and, you'll have nothing but be happy, something like that. Because that's what society wants, to be more sustainable. They want to basically they want everyone to live in pods in small jailed communities, 15-minute cities, all these ideas about putting everybody in small cramped spaces so that people don't travel around too far, which makes it feel like jail. They call it for sustainability and for the environment, but it's really just to control people. Now that part is true. But I don't think that this is an example of that. And so let's just watch it and I'll explain as we go. I think it's fucking awesome.
Meanwhile, it is something that has been in the works for the past 3 years, and now the first car-free neighborhood built from scratch in all of America.
So this is a car-free neighborhood. Effectively, all of these buildings you're seeing that are close together is everything. It's a full community of apartment buildings, grocery stores, hospitals, just everything you need in one small space that's all within walking distance. And of course, the idea is that there's more space to put services that you would use, everything from pet stores, grocery stores, a dentist, a doctor's office, a library, etc., because you're not wasting space to create things like parking lots or roads. So everything's in these small spaces. Now, of course, let's just go right off the bat. Is it going to feel like jail? It kind of depends on the person, I guess. Now, again, these things where people live in pods and shit are 100% jails. Well, so Matt, isn't this the exact same thing? Not necessarily. Because, granted, I haven't seen what the living spaces look like, and I don't want it to be like a fucking pod. I would personally live in this if the living space, where you sleep and stuff, is big enough to still hold all of your stuff. If it's a literal pod with nothing but a bed, then I think this idea is fucking trash. Although, you can have this idea and still have your living space be the average size of an apartment. If you can combine those two things together, which I don't know if they did or not, but if you can, then 100% love it. But if it is a small community but with fucking little tiny pods, then no, it is absolutely fucking trash. It's a prison. It's that modern idea of giving everybody nothing in life. But like I said, if they are fully fledged homes, but in a small community, I think it's fucking great. But even still, what are the initial drawbacks? So for people who don't drive, like myself, this is awesome. I even think that this helps encourage you to talk to the other people who are there, because you live close by, you're not distracted by, driving and all that crap. And no matter, and when people are walking more often, you're bound to see people more often who are also walking. Creates, think of it like the difference between living in a city or living in a small country town. The vibe is basically the exact same concept. But what if you want to leave the small little town that you're living in to go travel to a different country, or even for example, let's just say where I live. Let's say that this little city lived about 20 minutes away from the big city of Toronto, and then you wanted to go to Toronto. Well, this city does have a train subway service to take you from the small little village thing to the big city. But then, what if you want to drive around once you reach the big city? Well, you can't because you don't own a fucking car. And you can't keep your car here because it's a car-free zone. that's when you're shit out of luck. You'd have to like you'd have to like put your car in some kind of lot in the big city where you can like place it there forever and pay like a monthly fee or something. But then who would want to do that? Plus, you'd risk your car getting stolen from when you're not using it. So yes, that's one drawback. And two, the second drawback actually relates to the idea of it being a pod where you don't own anything. What if it is big enough to like house your furniture, your bed, a dresser, shelves, and things like that? How are you supposed to get your furniture there if you don't have a vehicle to deliver it? Who's gonna carry a bed? You know what I mean? Like, you'd have to take these things into account. But let's keep watching.
Is officially open in Tempe. Get this. It's the first ever agreement between a developer and a city for zero residential parking. Team 12's Trisha Hendricks shows us how the folks there embracing a car-free lifestyle and how it's helping with innovation and sustainability.
I agree. Now, obviously, I do agree. I believe to an extent that climate change is a hoax, because it is. I mean, now that's not to say that climate change is completely fake, like conservatives believe, but it is heavily exaggerated for the purposes of controlling people, making people live in like pods and things like that. So it's a real thing, but exaggerated to take advantage of people's stupidity. So.
A dream in the making.
Check it out. It's a community in Tempe where you won't see any cars.
We have zero residential parking.
It's called culdesac.
We have a completely walkable neighborhood.
Aaron Boyd leads government and external affairs.
Instead of having a parking lot, we have places for people to shop, to enjoy hanging out with each other, and a whole load of ways to get around.
For founding.
Like, I'm sorry, but I actually think this is fucking awesome. I really do. As long as you can figure out a way to compensate people who want to leave the small town to when they go to the big city and then travel around there. And then, of course, the living space still needs to be somewhat big. I will not accept this if it's like a fucking pod. There's no way.
Residents, an e-bike is included in the cost.
Unlimited rides on the...
They're given a bike as included in the cost. That's pretty good. Now, of course, a bike is not going to get you across like 3 hours worth of cities from wherever you live or even out of the country, but it's nice to be able to have that to some degree.
Light rail. We also have electric vehicles for rent.
They also have scooters for rent and 15% off all Lyft rides to and from the site. Here you'll...
Oh, so you can take a Lyft. And now, granted, even with a discount, taking a Lyft every time you want to leave the small town will get extremely expensive. So that does not solve the car issue I brought up, but it does help a little bit.
Find lots of shade, beautiful artwork, and no asphalt.
We find that most of our residents actually don't have a car. And for people who want to...
Well, it's not about having a car, it's about the fact that you literally can't own one if you live here.
try a car-free lifestyle, they can still keep their car, it just has to be parked off-site.
This unique
Exactly, but where? And you risk it getting broken into constantly.
approach to urban planning prioritizes pedestrian-friendly spaces, green areas, and sustainable living.
Can you imagine living on top of your grocery store? So that is like an amazing perk of living at Cul-de-sac. We also have a coffee shop on site, a co-working space, a bike shop, as well as a...
Well, there should be everything. I mean, the whole point is to live here. So yes, you should have enough food, whether if it's restaurants or grocery stores, to sustain a person, like, permanently.
restaurant and a food truck park with weekly markets.
By eliminating
Okay, that sounds fun. It's like a weekly festival.
cars from the neighborhood, the design team aimed to create a more connected and environmentally conscious community.
That is true. It does help the environment, and it also does help people connect. Like, and I think that's what I like most about it is the human connections brought back. Out of all the things of all the fucking problems in modern world, and there is so fucking many. Look at my channel. One of the biggest is people's lack of human connection. And what's one thing that pops into mind in modern day when you think of lack of human connection? AI. AI is gonna fucking... I've already made a video. You should watch it. It's called AI and Deep Fakes Will Destroy Humanity. I have another one related to AI called The Truth About ChatGPT. Watch both videos. I cover it very fucking well. But it's gonna get progressively worse. As AI grows, humanity is gonna get much worse. So... Oh, and I also talked about AI in a recent video about... people dating using AI, which is also extremely fucking damaging. But this actually helps take us back to humanity. It really does. Like being in a... Just look at the facts. Yes or no? Do people who live in small country towns find themselves to be a lot more connected with people than people who live in big cities. Yes, they are. People who live in small towns are objectively more communicative with humans than people who live in big cities. That's just a fact. This will literally bring you back to that. It'll bring you back to humanity, going outside and taking walks, taking bike rides, talking to people outside, and really making friendships again. Like, that will help with this, straight up.
If you have bike trouble,
Just take your bike into your local neighborhood mechanic and they're right downstairs.
the hope is that this pioneering concept will serve as a model for future developments across the country.
By getting rid of your private car, you can actually reduce your carbon footprint by over 50%.
The
That's the part I don't really give a shit about, but I just like the idea still.
community will be opening in phases, and by the time the whole project is done, it will include 760 apartments. In Tempe, Trisha Hendricks, 12 News.
Pretty cool to see there, Trisha. Thanks.
So I'm going to try to find a video that shows what the actual apartments look like. So give me a few minutes here. Alright, I found a video that shows what the inside apartments look like. Here we go. If it's not a pod, I'm good to go for this.
You know, it's a different environment.
This is incredible. Did you see how big that was? What? That was amazing!
Here, the meander. Like,
Okay,
what
now,
are the words?
now that they're showing the outside. But you see that? I mean, all you saw was the kitchen, but I imagine that the bedroom also looked, the bedroom and bathroom looks great too. Okay, 100% I'm in. If this ever comes to Canada, I would move out of Canada for this. I think this is awesome. I mean, aside from a few rough edges, like, again, how would you move your furniture in without any vehicles going there, or how would you maintain your own vehicle if you happen to own one? And if you don't own a vehicle, then that kind of hinders your ability to travel outside of it. Again, they did state in a different video I saw that there is a train or subway that goes from this little village to the big city where you can do whatever the fuck you want to do. But the problem is once you arrive in the big city, you don't have a vehicle to go anywhere else. You know what I mean? So those are some problems with this, obviously. But overall, I would fucking live here. 100% I would live here. I love the humanity being brought back. I love, because I don't even care about driving, nor do I like driving. Helps with that. The apartments look nice. Everything close by, all the amenities you need. Being close to people, being able to talk and hang out with people who are feet away. It's probably cleaner. It probably smells nicer. I mean, it's just, everything about it is just better. Like, this is just fucking awesome for someone like me, because I love the idea of small country living. Now, of course, this is not a country town, but it does replicate one. And I hate big city life, and this is the total opposite of that. So I think this is awesome. It's nice to finally talk about something positive on this channel for a change. Finally, the impossible challenge. After me being on YouTube for 19 years, I found one thing about modern life that's actually good. Wow. But what do you guys think about this? Would you live here? Why or why not? Let me know.